Hi.
Alright, hello guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are brand new here, my name is Nikki and this is my book nook. Y'all, today we are doing my June reading wrap up. This was my first month coming off of my own book release. I published my own book, When Fate Breaks, in May, available on Kindle Unlimited, Amazon, all the places, it's in the description. Anyways, because I did that last month, I really wanted to take this month to just kind of take a breather, step back from writing for a little bit, relax, just dive headfirst back into reading. I wanted to read a whole bunch of books that have been on my TBR for a while, so that's what I did. I read 10 books this month, and I'm not gonna lie, it got off to a little bit of a rough start. There were a handful of books I read this month that were a little disappointing, but I also read a few books that I absolutely loved, and then some kind of that fell in the middle. I really read a big range of things, so yeah, let's just talk about it. So the first book that I read in the month of June was Things I Wanted to Say But Never Did by Monica Murphy. I read it on my Kindle, it's on Kindle Unlimited, and basically this story follows this girl named Summer. She is starting out her senior year at this new school called Lancaster Prep. And in this story, Lancaster Prep is basically like the bougiest school in the country. It's where all the wealthiest, most like well-known people send their children. It's very Gossip Girl-esque. She starts out there and very shortly after arriving ends up running into a ghost from her past named Whit Lancaster. Lancaster, like the name of the school, because his family actually owns the school. She didn't expect to run into him there. She had an interaction with him many years ago, but Whit is not happy that Summer is here. Basically, his family is like one of the most well-known in the country. His dad is like the super famous, super wealthy like business mogul, and his family has always kind of had this like picturesque view to them. Like they always seemed like they had the perfect life, but there was a scandal that happened within their family a few years ago that was very big in the media, and Summer in a way was like kind of involved with that. Not at all her fault. She was kind of indirectly involved, but regardless, Whit chooses to kind of blame her for this and target her for this. So it is definitely like a bully romance. He essentially owns this school. I mean literally, but also like socially he owns this school and everybody listens to him, and so he makes it his mission to like make her life a living hell. He ends up finding something to sort of blackmail her with so that she kind of has to do whatever he wants her to do, or he's gonna threaten to ruin her life sort of thing. It's a very like dark bully romance, super toxic, super spicy. It was pretty good. I think this book started out so well, had a ton of potential. Like I was super hooked in the beginning, but for me, it was a really long book. It was like 550 pages, and I felt like there was a lot of tension and angst, but it just broke a little early for me. And then there was so much spice in this book, and like I would never complain about that, but like I said, it was like 550 pages, and I think probably like 475 of those pages were pure smut, and like it just got a little repetitive for me, and I don't know. I liked it. If you're looking for a spicy little moment, a little break from some of your other books, I think it's good, but it wasn't like my favorite thing I've ever read. Next, I read 99% Mine by Sally Thorne. This was one of my most anticipated books of the entire year. Honestly, of the last 2 years, I've held this book on my shelf for so long because I was saving it for a rainy day, because Sally Thorne is the author of The Hating Game. You can see it back here. It's one of my favorite books of all time, so I was really looking forward to this book and having really high expectations for it, but I won't go into it too much because I have an entire video on my channel discussing this book, but pretty much this story follows this girl named Darcy. She has a twin brother named Jamie, and growing up, she's always been in love with her brother's best friend, Tom, but she never felt like she could be with him or go after him because he is her brother's best friend and he owns him basically. Like he's 100% Jamie's, which is kind of what goes with the title. And so now present day, Darcy and Jamie's grandmother has passed away, and one of her dying wishes was that Jamie and Darcy would get her house remodeled and that they would sell it and I guess keep the money to do with what they want. So conveniently enough, present day, Tom is actually like a construction worker, home remodeler, I don't know. So they basically hire Tom to help remodel this house. So Darcy is kind of like living there while he's there working on it. Again, I have a whole video talking about this, but this book, nothing about the plot made sense. Nothing about the dialogue made any sense. Nothing about the story, the characters, their relationships. Like I was so confused this entire book. It just felt like it felt like a fever dream. I don't know what was happening. I was so disappointed, so sad. I don't even have the physical copy anymore. I've already like passed it on because that's how much this book was just a no for me. Really, really sad, but I'm gonna try Sally Thorne's other books, but The Hating Game, I don't know. I'm hoping it wasn't a one-hit wonder. I'm gonna be really, really sad if it was. Okay, I don't want to talk about it anymore. So funny enough, the next book I read in the month of June was actually another brother's best friend romance. I guess I was on a little roll with it, but Cross the Line by Julie Johnson. This story follows this girl named Phoebe. Kind of a similar story. Growing up, she was always head over heels with her brother's best friend, Nate. Even like into adulthood, she's just found herself comparing every single guy to him, and she's never like fallen so hard or crushed so hard on anybody as she has Nate. And after getting out of high school, Nate ended up going off and like working in the special forces and private security, and he's always maintained a relationship with Phoebe's brother, but he really kind of like cut her off, and she hasn't spoken to him in a really long time, and it really kind of broke her heart in the way that he did that. But Phoebe's dad is actually like a really well-known person in, I think, tech or something. Like he's a big like business person, and because of his status and because of what he's involved in, like he has a lot of enemies. And Nate has basically shown up now out of nowhere, and he feels that Phoebe is in danger, and you know, people that will kind of like use her to get to her father. So I don't know, this story kind of turns into a bit of like a mystery, a bit of a thriller in a way. There was a lot to it. I actually really liked this book. I had never heard of it. I had never heard of this author. The reason I read it actually was because I was invited to speak on a podcast called Romance at a Glance. It is a book podcast. They're great. You should go check them out. But they invited me to come on and review this book with them. So I never would have found it if it wasn't for them. And I ended up really, really liking it. Like, I want to check out more from Julie Johnson. This wasn't like the greatest thing I've ever read, but definitely gave me a whole lot of butterflies. I thought the writing was really good. There were a lot of like cute quirks to it, and just in the way that she wrote. Yeah, I totally, if you're looking for a brother's best friend, I would recommend checking it out. It was cute. It was different. And the next book that I read in the month of June is a book that I think is going to kind of fall into my all-time favorites. Like, I think I'm just gonna read this book over and over. It's The Spectacular Now by Tim Tharp. If you recognize the title, it's probably because you've heard of the movie that came out well over 10 years ago. This is a pretty old book. I have been head first back into my Miles Teller phase, obviously with Top Gun coming out. I've been crushing on this man since The Spectacular Now, Divergent, Footloose, all the things, but with Top Gun, oh my god. But because I've been talking about him a lot on my Instagram and stuff, one of my followers and friends, Sophia, slid into my DMs and was like, oh my god, I loved him in The Spectacular Now, the book is even better. And I was like, wait, what? I didn't know it was based off of a book, so right away I was like, I need to go and read that, because I hadn't seen the movie in years. Like, I loved the movie back when I saw it, but it had been a long time, and I'm like, I know the basic story, but it's a little fuzzy. I think this is the perfect time for me to pick up and read the book. And I loved it so much. Basically, it follows this boy named Sutter. He is in high school, and he's honestly a bit of an alcoholic. That's a big part of the story, but Sutter is like the class clown. Everybody loves him. He's the life of the party. If there's a party going on, you want Sutter to be there. Really, he's just, everybody loves him. All the girls love him. He's very attractive, like he's very charming. You know, he doesn't have any trouble forming relationships, getting into relationships, but he has a really hard time maintaining them because everybody sees him as this party guy, but nobody, especially girls, really see him as like a guy that they can have a future with, like a guy that has any sort of long-term goals, because he really just like lives in the now. And he's found himself in the same predicament again. His latest girlfriend, Cassidy, is basically breaking up with him because she just doesn't see a future with him. They're seniors in high school now, and she's like, I just don't see this going very far. Like, I really like you, you're super fun, but like, I just, you know, you're just not a very serious guy, and I just don't see it lasting. So this time though, he's determined to get her back. So in the span of trying to kind of plan his attack to get her back, he ends up drinking a little bit more than normal, and he ends up finding himself waking up on the front lawn of this girl named Amy Finicky that he goes to school with. And this is really the first time he's spoken to Amy, and really the first time that he's seen her. And right away, he just feels something in him when he meets her that he needs to help her. Amy is very, like a very smart girl. She has a lot of like goals and dreams and ambitions, but she puts everybody else in her life before her. You know, she helps her mom like run this paper route, like she helps out her family, she lets her friends walk all over her, and Sutter just feels like he needs to sort of give her like a social life makeover, get her to live more in the now and get her to like fight for what she wants and what she believes in and what she wants to do. So he sort of like takes Amy under her wing and like makes this his mission at the same time that he's still on the mission to get his girlfriend Cassidy back. So a lot of like inner working parts to this story, but it just, I loved it. It was one of those sort of like meaning of life books, like very John Green-esque. I just eat those up. I love them. I love books that make me think, and especially books that just like, I don't know, it felt so real. It felt so real the way it was written, and I loved it so much. It's an oldie but a goodie. I totally recommend checking it out if you're a fan of John Green or anything like that. And the next book that I read in June was My Killer Vacation by Tessa Bailey. I was so highly anticipating this. I knew it was going to be a super fun little spicy summer read, and I was not disappointed. This story follows this girl named Taylor, who is a second grade teacher, and she's had a really rough couple of years. You know, the world has been a little bit crazy, so she's been saving up money so that she can take her brother on a vacation. And so they arrive at their Airbnb in this little small beach town in Massachusetts, and right away she can tell the vibes are not right, something is off, and she's very right, because she ends up coming across a dead body in their Airbnb. It is the owner of their Airbnb, and she's like, oh my god, what has happened here? Calls the cops. Obviously they come and they try to close the case very quickly. They think it's very obvious what it is, but something in Taylor is like, this just doesn't seem right. Like, she can't stop thinking about it, and she just kind of makes it her mission to look more into this and try to solve the case of this murder. And in the process of doing this, she ends up crossing paths with this man named Miles. Miles is a bounty hunter, and he basically owes a favor to a relative of the man that was killed. So he is here to also figure out like what has happened here and solve this mystery. And you know, him and Taylor cross paths. They are polar opposite. It's very much Grumpy Sunshine, and he's like, get out of here, you're not involved in this, like, let me do my job. But he also can't deny that she's cute as a button, and Taylor, because she is like a second grade teacher, she's very sweet and cute. She's looking to have a little fun on this vacation, and Miles looks like the perfect type of fun. And so this is really fun. It was really spicy. It was like a murder mystery, which is a very different sort of element to have in a rom-com, but I don't know, it was just fun. It was a super quick read. I really liked it. I feel like you can't go wrong with Tessa Bailey, and if you're looking for a little summer vibe, check it out. Hello guys, this is Nikki in the future editing this video right now and realizing that she is so very dumb because she just completely forgot to talk about one of the books she read in the month of June. I think it kind of makes sense though now that I'm thinking about it, because I kind of just tried to block this book from my memory, I think. It's Hopeless by Colleen Hoover, and you might be gasping because you know Colleen Hoover is incredible, one of my favorite authors ever. But this book, I won't harp on it too much because I made an entire video about it just a day or two ago, so you can go and watch that if you're interested in all the details. But it follows this girl named Sky that is starting out her senior year of high school. She's grown up being homeschooled her whole life. Her mom is very quirky. She's like a hippie. She doesn't believe in TV or the internet. And so Sky is very different than like most kids, and she's going into this, you know, this new life at high school, and she comes across this boy named Holder. And it's very scandalous. He's back in town because he apparently went to juvie because he like beat this kid up, and there's all these rumors surrounding him, and they cross paths, and he just gives her this look and is like, who are you? I feel like I know you. Where do we know each other from? And she's like, I've never seen you in my life. I don't know what you're talking about. And of course he's very attractive, so she's intrigued, but she's trying to listen to people saying to stay away from him. Doesn't work very well. They end up, you know, their lives end up intertwining, and he keeps like, you know, coming back, and they grow closer, and blah, blah, blah. It's a Colleen Hoover book, so you know there's going to be like a crazy plot twist that comes and just rocks your world. And when this plot twist came, it rocked my world a little too much, and it was just, there were so many layers to the story that I just thought it was entirely too much, and I was physically nauseous reading it. And it's the only Colleen Hoover book I've ever read that I can just say like I did not like, very unfortunately. But yeah, again, if you want more details, you can go and watch that video. But least favorite book I read this month. Yeah, not it. Next, I read Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. I never shut up about John Green on my channel because he's my favorite human on this planet. The Fault in Our Stars, my favorite book ever. I won't talk about it any further, but I've been slowly working my way through his books because I'm terrified to run out of them, because every single one that I read feels like it opens up a new part of my mind, and I just feel more and more understood, because I feel like John and I are literally, John, we're on a first name basis. I just feel like we're the same person. I don't know. This story follows this girl named Asa, and at the beginning of the story, we learn that this man named Russell Pickett has gone missing. He is this billionaire like man that is involved in tech or business or something, and he has been accused of like bribery, and he's on the run and nobody knows where he is, and there's basically a $100,000 reward out for anyone that can come forward with information about him. And you would think, what does that have to do with Asa, this high school student? Well, Asa is actually connected to this man in a way, because growing up, she actually was really close friends with his son named Davis. And so her best friend Daisy is like, Asa, you gotta go talk to Davis. We gotta see if we can get involved in this. Like, this is $100,000. Like, we could pay for college. Like, let's try to figure this out. So Asa does end up sort of crossing paths again with Davis, this boy that she grew up like spending summer camps with, and she always really had a crush on. And Davis has no idea what's happened to his dad. So this kind of seems like a story where you're gonna, like a mystery, try to figure out what happened to the dad. And in a way it is, but really John Green is just so friggin' smart, and he found a way to mask a story with an entirely different story. Truly at the heart of it, this is a story about mental health and struggles with it. Asa suffers from severe OCD. It's a really specific type. I mean, she's obsessed. She's like a hypochondriac. She's always thinking about how our body is made of like a million microbes, microbials. I can't even think of the word, but she's like super aware of germs and like infection, and just always thinks she's gonna die from a million things. And I don't know, she has a lot of little like quirks and tics to her. And we basically get to see how these issues she struggles with affects her daily life, her relationships, her friendships. Like, it really is just a never-ending thing that she deals with. And I can't relate to like the specific thing that she was OCD about, but I do feel like I related in a way to just certain things that I think about that stress me out, that give me anxiety, that nobody around me understands. I feel like all of us in a way have certain things like that where we just don't feel like anybody gets it. And this story just had a million incredible quotes, and it just, I think it represented really well and put you inside of somebody's brain, you know, to make you understand something that you might not. It was just incredible. Everything John Green does is incredible, and I'll never stop talking about him. I just, I loved it. I loved it, and it's becoming a movie. They literally just finished filming it. I don't know when it's coming out, but I'm super excited. The casting looks perfect. I'm obsessed. Next, I read The Infinity Between Us by N.S. Perkins. This is a friends to strangers to lovers story, which if you guys know me, you know that's like my favorite trope of all time. Essentially, I love books that have past to present sort of timelines. You know, if you have dual point of view, like that's a plus for me. I love this type of story, so I was really excited to read this because I'd seen a lot of people talking about it. It pretty much follows this girl named Violet. She, present day, is going back to this beach house that her family used to own and spend time at. Basically, she's there to sell it, but she ends up coming across this boy named Will. He is also at the beach house, and she's like never expected to run into him because the last time they saw each other, they completely went their separate ways and haven't talked since then. And it's very obvious that they have a lot of history between them, and she's not happy to see him, and she's very upset, and there's a lot of tension and a lot of angst. And yeah, you don't know initially what has happened here, but this is a story that has alternating timelines. So every other chapter we do go back to, you know, past summers, growing up, seeing them kind of live at this beach together over the summer and spend time together and kind of become friends and then turn into something more. And it's one of those stories where the entire time you're trying to figure out like what went wrong between them. Here's the thing. I thought it was good, but like I said, this is one of my favorite tropes, and it's literally also the way that I wrote my own book. Like, that style of book is seriously something that I'm so passionate about, and I've read so many books like it, and I think just because of that, this felt kind of flat for me. I can't help but compare books, right, when you've read similar things, and compared to all the other books that I've read with this like style of writing, I don't know, I wasn't obsessed with it. It just didn't blow my mind. I also didn't feel super attached to Violet or Will. Like, I wasn't super sold on their relationship. Like, there were definitely certain points and certain quotes where I was like, oh, like, I could kind of see it, but I never felt like super gripped by this story. And I don't know why. Like, I don't know if I've just read too many books similar to this recently, but a lot of people seem to love it. So again, if you want kind of a summer vibe, maybe check it out. But I just wasn't, I don't know, I just wasn't super obsessed. And the next book I read in June may just be my favorite book that I've read this entire year. I think it is. I loved it so much. Twisted Lies by Anna Huang. This is the 4th book in the Twisted series. Y'all, I never thought that a series could fill the hole in my heart that the Devil's Night series by Penelope Douglas left. But this one has come pretty darn close. If you don't know, the Twisted series, just like Devil's Night, is a companion novel series, meaning that each book is a standalone book focused on a certain couple, but all of the couples like are in this friend group and there is an overarching story and you get to see it like build and grow, and it's just such a good time. This story focused on Stella and Christian. Stella is like an Instagram influencer model, and Christian, again, is like a billionaire CEO, head of a security company, badass, touch her and you die sort of moment. And Stella actually lives in this building that Christian owns, this apartment complex. And it's one of those stories of, you know, the man that doesn't know what love is and has never loved a single person in his life, but just cannot get this one girl off of his mind. Like, I hate everyone in the world but you. There's a fake dating element to this. It just had like everything I want and need in love. Mega slow burn, but once it was unleashed, oh my god. Just Anna Huang knows how to do it. I don't know what else to say. This was my favorite book in the series. I didn't think Twisted Games would be able to be dethroned, but it has. I loved it so much. Like, I already want to reread this. I flew it through it so fast, so freaking good. Check out the Twisted series if you haven't, because it's one of the best. And the last book I read in the month of June, I'm not gonna lie, I have like 50-ish pages left to this, but I'm gonna finish it today, so I'm gonna go ahead and talk about it. Normal People by Sally Rooney. This has been another book that has just been on my TBR for freaking ever. Everybody talks about this book. It's had a million like awards and accolades, and I feel like I understand why. This is a very different, interesting sort of story in the way that it's told, in the way that it's written. It felt very, very real, much like The Spectacular Now, and I really like that. You know, I love rom-coms and I love books that just, you know, you get to escape into, but sometimes it is nice to read things that just feel really realistic and aren't all butterflies and rainbows, and that is definitely what this was. This story follows this girl named Marianne and this guy named Connell, basically over many years of their lives. Like, we end up meeting them in high school initially. They have very different sort of lives. It's kind of interesting. Marianne is not popular at school at all. She's kind of like a dork, kind of an outcast, but she does have like a very good home life. Her family is very well off, fairly wealthy, where Connell is the opposite. He's very popular at school and he's very like well known and he's in a good social circle, but his life at home is not as good. He's kind of more like working class, and in fact his mother actually works for Marianne's family. She's been cleaning their house for a very long time, so that's how Connell and Marianne have crossed paths, because he goes to like pick his mom up from work and he would end up kind of talking to Marianne in the process. And we kind of see this journey between them where they become friends, they become more, but because they're in different social circles, like in school, it's kind of difficult and there's some insecurities around that. And you just see a lot of like, I don't know, the struggle between them and the struggles of growing up and the struggles of timing and, you know, right person, wrong time, and just miscommunication, which we all hate, but it's a very real thing. And we just follow them, and I don't know, this story has been very frustrating to read, but again, just feels very, very real. It's so easy to fly through. Like, it's one of those books where you just flip in the pages and before you know it, you're like, oh, I've read, you know, 50 pages. Like, it just flies by really fast. I feel like I'm still processing it, honestly. I feel like this book is like a higher intellectual level than what I'm at, but I have really, really liked it. Again, I have a little bit to go, so might completely change my mind, but I definitely feel like I see the hype. One thing to note about it is it's written very differently. The author, Sally Rooney, is Irish, I believe, and like the style of writing is just something you kind of have to get used to. There are no quotation marks used in this book at all. like she doesn't use quotation marks, and I tried to look it up, and apparently that's like somewhat common in some European countries. It just makes it a little harder to read because you have to pay really close attention, because not only are quotation marks not used, but like it's not even like it's separated out. Like most of the paragraphs will take up nearly the entire page, and within that you can have 10 different people talking and it's all in one paragraph, so you just have to pay attention to where it says like said Marianne, or Connell says, or you know, Mary says, whatever. Like you just have to pay attention. So it's not like I'm a person, like I'm not a psychopath. Some people are literal psychopaths and they only read dialogue and they read nothing else. I'm not one of those people. But you know, when you're reading, sometimes you get on a roll and you're kind of like scanning and you find yourself really paying attention to the dialogue, but everything else you kind of scan a little bit. You can't do that with this book. You literally have to like read every single word, because there would definitely be times that I would, you know, zone out a little bit or try to, you know, I'd start scanning and then I get to the end of the page and I'm like, okay, wait, who said what? Like it's kind of easy to get lost if you don't pay really close attention. But I do feel like you get used to it. It's definitely not my preference, I'm not gonna lie. I didn't love that aspect of it, but I'm not gonna let it take away from the story and how I felt about it. It's also in third person, so if you hate that, you might not love this, but I don't know. I feel like even though it was in third person, you still got like points of view. Like for sure, you would see entire parts where it was Marianne's point of view, and then you'd revisit the exact same situation, but now it's Connell's point of view. So I don't mind third person if it still feels like you're getting a point of view. I feel like Tessa Bailey's really good at that. I don't know, I'm going off on a whole tangent, but I really like this book so far. I definitely will do a full video like talking about it once I've completely finished it, so be on the lookout for that. A lot of these books as well, I'm a little behind on my individual reviews. Some of them do have their own videos for sure, so if you're interested in hearing more on any of these, check out my previous videos, and if they don't already, they will have a video in the next week or so, because I always review every single book. You guys know how it is. But yeah, those are all the books I read in June. If you guys read any of these books, I would love to hear your thoughts on them down below. If you didn't read any of these books and you read another book that you absolutely loved in the month of June, I'd also love to hear that. Tell me what your favorite was. But yeah, it's July now. I don't know how. Looking forward to it. The summer's just flying by, y'all. I have a video coming up very soon of summer reading recommendations. I know we're halfway through summer, but it's never too late to start, you know? You know how it is. Yeah, that is it for me today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you very soon. Bye.